I'm Amanda, and this is Not Your Granny's Quilt Show. Welcome to today's episode. Thank you so much for being here. I have a repeat guest. She was on 2 years ago. Erin Bauchan-Caprara. If you don't know who she is, her Instagram handle is at Seam Ripper Society. So probably you do know who she is. Erin and I have built a beautiful friendship over the last few years, and I've just really loved getting to know her and gotten close with her. And she has been working on an amazing project bringing attention to the gun violence issue we have in our country. And so I volunteered to be the long armor for her project. And if you haven't seen it, she makes tally blocks to document mass shootings that happen. And all the information we talk about, where she gets the information, where she gets the data, the links to where you can find that are in the show notes. So if you want to check it out yourself, go for it. And yeah, this is kind of a warning too. If you're sensitive to hearing about mass shootings, gun violence, we do talk about it because that's what the quilt is about. So I would hope that you could listen and just understand where this project comes from. It's very near and dear to both of us as we both worked in education and having to explain to little children what it would mean if there was an active shooter on campus. And yeah, so anyway, all that to say, I really hope you enjoy hearing about this project, the way that she and I have collaborated, and the way that she's bringing more artists into the project as well. She's also looking for places in 2026 to be able to display all of the panels together as like a traveling or walkthrough exhibit. So if you or anybody you know could help point her in a direction to make that happen, that would be super awesome. Otherwise, please enjoy Erin Bauchan-Caprara. Hi, Erin. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited. We did this so long ago. We were just like looking up how long ago it was. It was like 2 years ago almost.
A lot has changed in 2 years.
Yeah, crazy. But well, I'm just so glad you're here to chat and um yeah, just like going back and like trying to find, I'm like, when even were you on? What episode? Like all the way back in episode 64
Mhm.
was you. And, if anybody wants to learn how you got into quilting, they can go back to that episode. But we're here to talk about so many other things today. Still quilting, but like,
Yeah,
we don't need to go all the way back to the beginning because that's already been done. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just glad to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, I mean, a huge reason why I wanted to have you on again was just like you've been doing this mass shooting quilt. Like we're gonna just dive right into this because it's such a big deal. And as you were starting to build the first panel, I was like, who is your long armor? I was like, let me get my hands on this thing.
It's
And
you.
it's me now. So that was really so cool. And so as collaborators, like I just wanted us to be able to talk about this project. And I know you've got more people involved now and we can get more into that. But I guess just like for anybody who doesn't know or hasn't been following along, I just really want to talk about like what inspired you to start this project and just, yeah, dive in and talk about the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, let's get into it. So basically, when I was on the show the last time, I talked about how I started quilting as a way to work through my grief.
Yeah.
And right before I started this quilt, my cat got sick and she passed away. And I reflected on the fact that it was so helpful for me to dive into quilting that I decided, hey, I'm going to take on a massive project, really challenge myself and dive into it and see if that helps.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a strange topic to pick up for you guys. grieving, but I got a book for Christmas. I got Nicholas Ball's Inspiring Improv for Christmas, and I
Yeah.
was flipping through it and I saw this tally block. And the minute I saw it, I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that. And I really, I used to be a parapro. So, gun violence prevention is a big deal to me. It's something that's very important to me. I am part of the first generation that got to experience school shooter drills, and then I got to grow up and be a parapro and run them myself, um,
Wow.
which is quite an experience
Mm-hmm.
to go from being that child who's terrified, who doesn't know what's going on, who isn't quite sure it's even going to be something that we need to worry about, to being an adult and then looking in those children's faces and seeing they're expecting me to save them, and there's no way I could save them all.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what inspired me to start this. The first block I actually made for this quilt, because I wasn't really even sure how I was going to get it done, how to
Mhm.
collect the data. I just kind of dove in. Was the Perry High School shooting that occurred in, I think it was January 4th, 2024.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly. So that was the first block that I made, and which really felt pretty full circle given my motivation for why I wanted to start this quilt.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised by the response that I received for that particular block. However, it became interesting because as I started sharing other blocks, making other blocks, and talking about different stories, it was really, really clear to me that when we're talking about school shootings, we have a lot of empathy, we have a lot of
Mhm.
horror, we have a lot of concern, we demand something be done. But when we're talking about someone at a club, someone standing on the street, someone standing in a grocery store, we have less compassion, we have less care, and we have a lot less outrage. And I think that seems to be why it goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
Because if it's kids, we care, and we don't even care that much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But when it's not kids, we don't care at all.
Yeah.
So making this quilt, I really just wanted to show the amount of people that are affected by this, how frequent it is. And I didn't even know if it was going to be something I continued, if it was something that was going to resonate. I had no idea. I just was like, let me try it out and let's see what happens. And I've
Yeah.
been really surprised by how much it has resonated, and how seeing all of those numbers together has really, really opened people's eyes and brought people to a conversation that they ordinarily wouldn't have been in.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. When I saw that you were starting it, I was like, wow, this is crazy. And like gun violence prevention is close to my heart too, as a former educator. And same thing, like looking into those little kids' eyes and being like, don't worry, I'll take a bullet for you. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, why is this a normal conversation? Like, why are we fine? And just like you said, our care only extends so far. It's like we're mad that there's school shootings, but we're not going to take any precautions. We're not going to go ahead and make any more common sense gun laws. We're not going to try to keep these deadly weapons out of people's hands. It's just a fact of life, like Couch Boy said, but like um it doesn't have to be just a fact of life. There's so many developed countries in our world that don't have to deal with it because they did take action and they're better for it. And I think when you don't have to walk into an environment that's supposed to be safe, like, and feel like your life is at risk every day, you can learn, you can relax, you can kind of escape the other horrors of your life. But when
Mhm.
you're going from, you know, potentially a crappy environment at home to a crappy environment at school because there's so much fear there. It's like nothing's that part's getting missed. And so I felt very passionately to like I needed to support you in some way. So I was like, what can I do? What can I do? Like Anyway, so yeah, it's just been interesting to see the rhetoric that comes from it too, because there's people who are like, absolutely, this is so crazy, great job, like it's heartbreaking, it's beautiful, thank you for doing this. And then the people that are like, hey, go kill yourself. You're like, what? You know? So,
Yeah, it is really interesting. I will say I get less of that as time goes on. When I first started the project, I feel like it was a little shock to the system.
mhm,
And I got a lot of commentary about like my mental health, for example, of like, I just want to make sure that you're taking care of you. Which was a really interesting thing to
yeah,
have to, yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't think it's me that you're
uh-huh,
worried about. But it was really interesting because in this circumstances, I was very specifically taking care of me. Like I had grief I was working through and I needed purpose
mhm,
and I had this project that was really important to me and that was getting me through. And as morbid as it might feel to other people or as hard as it might be for other people to view that data, that doesn't mean that it's difficult for me in the same way that it might be difficult for somebody else. And I
mhm,
personally got a lot of meaning out of it. So it was really a lot more challenging for me to go on the internet every single day and have, Karens telling me that they were gonna armchair psychologist me for trying to do something for my mental health that
right,
wasn't good for theirs, maybe, which is fine. Don't follow
right,
me then. Like, I'm not for you if that's not something you can view. But
yeah,
yeah, it was very interesting and it definitely like made it so that at first I was a little cautious. I was a little nervous. I maybe didn't share as much as I wanted to or as frequently as I wanted to. And I kind of tempered it so that I
mhm,
could be like, okay, I'm ready to have this conversation again.
right, yeah,
But over time, I built up an audience that was prepared, ready, and wanting to have that conversation, which
yeah,
really flipped the script and really made it so that it's more productive. Like
yeah,
I feel like I get a lot more out of it. I feel like other people get more out of it because they're there to have that conversation, right?
yeah,
They're not there for pretty quilts. And like
mhm,
I think my quilts are still pretty, but
right,
that's not the purpose of them. So if
right,
that's what they're looking for, like I probably am not a good fit for them. And that's fine. We don't have to be for everybody.
yeah,
But it was freeing in a way to kind of go through that process and be like, it's fine if I'm not for everybody. I don't
yeah,
need to be for everybody. And I can stand in my own beliefs and I can be comfortable with them. And I can stand up for myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like there was a kind of an empowerment that happened through the process of having to learn to stand my own ground, not just to people that I'm comfortable standing my ground to, my coworkers, my family, my friends, but people I don't know who the fuck you are on the internet, and I'm still telling you, nope, this is me. This is what you get. You don't
yeah,
like it, you can take off. You don't have to be here.
yeah,
Um, which I think very well prepared me for the experience we're having today in America. Um,
mhm, yeah,
so that I guess that was, some interesting ground training for that.
yeah. You're like, oh, cool, okay. Like,
Yeah.
I guess I really need to put my independent autonomous pants on because this is it's
Mhm.
dicey, but I think too, like watching you experience that also helped me in a way with like without asking for any labor from you, just like witnessing it and being like, oh, it is important for me to speak out about the things I believe in and to stand my own ground and to like be vocal about it because I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm somebody I'm not, just by not talking about the things that I do care about. And it definitely has come in handy, and yeah, like you aren't going to be for everybody, but I just like, can you speak to maybe, because I know like there were some months where it was just like people were just if anytime you posted, people were just like really in your face about you need to be so careful and you need like telling you what to do. And like, I guess where did you draw the line of like, I'm not here to carry your discomfort, like So don't put it on me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, actually, so I kind of had like a breaking point with this project in September of last year. I was on my anniversary trip with my husband, and I started getting messages and comments from I don't really know who this person was, but like for all intents and purposes appeared to be white supremacist.
Sure.
And it was and they were very threatening. It was basically saying, I'm gonna tell everyone I know about you, and I'm gonna make sure I make your life hell. I'm going to people are going to hurt you for the things that you say and do, kind of
Yeah.
rhetoric. And I'm out here, I'm trying to have fun, I'm trying to celebrate, I'm trying to enjoy my life. And there was a point during that where I was like, what is the benefit of me putting myself out here like this if
Hmm.
this is the thanks that I get? This is the response that I receive, is death threats and intimidation. And do I want to put myself in that position? Is that productive?
Hmm.
So instead of just pushing forward and being like, yep, I'm gonna just keep doing that, I worked on my project behind the scenes and I didn't post anything for 2, 3 months, maybe.
Yeah.
I posted in my stories. I didn't post anything publicly. I just gave myself time to think about, what does this mean to me? Is this productive? Is this helpful? Is this something that is needed? Is this worth me putting myself in potential danger for? Because I either would get people telling me that I'm imminently in danger that aren't the people that would want to endanger me.
Right.
Um, and then I
Right.
would get people that would want to endanger me, personally threatening me. And that was so I just wasn't sure what to do with that. It was very overwhelming. And really it kind of came at like the head of the election.
Mm.
So for me, that was also just kind of an emotional time where I was very overwhelmed with everything that was going on. And I was like, I think it's time to just take a beat. I'm just going to take a beat and think about it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. Like, you don't have to push yourself through something. You can just take a minute and reflect. So that's what I did. And basically, like when something big would happen, like a
Hmm.
big, a mass shooting would occur, and it seemed like people were really looking for somebody to speak out about it. I That's when I kind of found like my voice actually was needed.
Yeah.
Because I felt compelled to say something, and then I found when I did say something, I would get this like response of thank you. I was waiting for somebody to pay attention, someone to care, someone to share their feelings in a way that felt authentic and not like, thank you, thoughts and
Thoughts and
prayers.
prayers. Yeah.
Like,
God.
I, as a senator, I'm so upset. Like,
Right.
it's like like a real person to be like, this is what it feels like when you are in the classroom and you are looking at this child. Like, I know I can distinctly remember a drill that we ran once, and I was assigned to 3 children, and one of them was in a wheelchair. One of them, like, anytime anything very stressful would happen because I was a special education
Hmm.
parapro, like he would drop to the floor and sob loudly. And there, I mean, he was bigger than me. There was no way for me to move him. And I just remember thinking to myself, because like, I'm pushing the one girl in the wheelchair. I'm like, got another girl by the hand. I've got this kid who's way bigger than me that I'm like trying to pull along, but he's crying on the ground. And I'm
Yeah.
just thinking to myself, watching him sob on the ground, that like, if this was not a drill, if this was not real life, what I would do, what I would be forced to do is literally pick up one of these girls, shove the other girl as fast as I could in this wheelchair, and leave him behind. And like,
Yeah.
just knowing that in my head, that that's exactly what I would have to do, like, that's never left my brain.
No.
And I think that those kind of conversations are what really resonate with people and what people really need to hear.
Hmm.
And that's kind of when I learned like my voice does matter and people do need to hear these things in plain English and,
Yeah.
what the experience is actually like and how it makes people feel. So after that, I kind of started tiptoeing my way back and writing things here and there. And then after the election results, I could tell people really needed someone to be bearing witness,
Yeah.
someone to share, like, I see what's happening and I'm not okay with what's happening. And it's okay if you're not okay. Like,
Hmm.
we don't have to accept that this is all right. And we don't have to pretend that we are. And we don't have to be like, oh, we don't share how we feel about this. We're just going to talk about quilts and fabric and everything's perfect and fine.
Yeah.
Um, and like I obviously have a political lean to my account,
Hmm.
but I'm still a quilter and I'm still going to talk to you about, art and textiles and come at it from a different perspective. And I might be the only political account that someone follows if they are like deeply in that field and they only really follow quilters.
Yeah.
And that's something I noticed too, is like a lot of people would be like, I never heard about this until you said something. And
Hmm.
just kind of like feeling like there was a benefit to me actually saying something and
Yeah.
showing up and participating. Just like realizing that that had value made me less scared
Yeah.
because it felt like there was a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I also learned after a while that maybe I shouldn't get in fights with people on the internet. I should just block them and delete their comments. Because as somebody who's advocating for something, somebody who's like clearly trying to make a point, when somebody comes to your profile and they want to say something ridiculous, racist, horrible, stupid, like your gut instinct is to be like, no, no, I
Yeah.
don't I don't want you saying that on my page and this is the 15 reasons why you're wrong, right? But then I learned that when you do that, it's like it's almost like, your milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, like your
Yeah.
argument brings all the angry men to the internet.
Yeah.
Like
It's like their
so
spidey senses go off and they're like, I must go argue.
exactly. It's like a woman has an opinion. Let me go at it. Like
Shut her down.
exactly.
Oh my
So
God.
um once I just stopped like I instead I do like what I call the block and mock. Like I
Hmm.
just take a screenshot of the comment, I delete the comment, I block the person, then I share it in my stories and I talk all the shit that I want to talk and explain why it's wrong. And I still get the feeling like I've educated people, I've talked about it, I've
Yeah.
addressed it, I haven't just ignored it. But
Hmm.
I also don't get his 52 friends to
Right.
come to my profile and attack me and harass me. And that has made all the difference in the world. I wish I
Yeah.
had learned that earlier.
Right. Yeah, I know. I think too, sometimes people can be shaming about like blocking. It's like, oh, you just don't want to hear. It's like, no, yeah, you're right. I don't want to hear it because it's not helpful. It's not genuine. It's not coming from a place of trying to understand or learn. They're just trying to be harmful
Mhm.
because they feel threatened in some way. Not my responsibility, and I don't have to take it. So it's like, yeah, people that behavior needs bad behavior needs to be called out. And it's like sometimes it can be done behind the scenes, but when somebody's going to come who doesn't know you, come on your page and make shitty comments about your work and what you're sharing, which is literal just data, like
Right.
you're like, these are facts. I don't know what you want from me.
Exactly.
To try to have some fight with you, it's like, go somewhere else. Like, this is not the place. But you're also going to
Yeah,
get made fun of on your way out the door. So,
exactly. And like that's something that I had to learn was like ownership of my own space. Like
yeah.
this page belongs to me. These posts
Hmm.
belong to me. This is my opinion.
Hmm.
And it's not that I don't want to hear other opinions or I feel
Right.
like I need to be in an echo chamber or anything. But something I had to really grapple with was the fact that like these are people's lives. These are
Yeah.
people who people care about deeply. Like, I can't let you come to my page and insult somebody in front of their loved one. Like, that's
Right.
not what my remembrance and my memorialization project is about. I can't do that. So I'm not going to do that. And it's okay that I don't do that.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, those aren't just tally marks for funsies. Those are people's lives that have now not just themselves been affected, but everybody around them because now their lives are impacted by the fact that they know someone who's now been wounded or killed by gun violence. And like school shooting or not, like it happens multiple times a day, every day. Like,
Mhm. I
and
think the time when I really realized, like, just like I mean, I started doing this project. It was just kind of like an interest for me. Like, I was like, I want to learn more about this. It's something that's always bothered me. But like, I personally have never been a victim of a shooting. I don't know anyone personally who had until this
same.
year.
Mm,
Um, and what
yeah.
was like really hit home for me, I guess is what I would say, is I was working on this project, so I'm super tuned into what's happening in the news, what's happening in gun violence. And when it happens in my state, especially, like, it hits home because, like, these are places I can imagine. These are places like I'm familiar with, for
Yeah.
example. And I don't remember the exact date, but it was in the summer, I think in June, last year. I saw a shooting that happened at a splash pad
Mhm.
over in the east side of the state.
Yeah.
And I shared about it and I talked about it. And then later on that evening, I saw my sister-in-law was sharing a GoFundMe for the people that were injured in this, and they were her cousins.
Oh my
Like,
God.
so
Yeah.
to just think about, like, the 6 degrees of seven bacon, or seven bacon, Kevin
Yeah.
bacon,
Seven bacon.
seven bacon. I bet he's sexy too. Um, six
Yeah.
degrees of Kevin bacon. Of that situation, like, that's only you know two
Yeah.
people away, like 2 degrees away from me. Like, that could
Right.
have easily been, my sister-in-law, and my niece and nephew, and
Right.
I mean, it really tells you how frequent it is when you yourself know somebody who's on this list. You yourself know somebody who's on this quilt. And I can't even count how many people have contacted me and been like, yeah, like, I've been following you. And then all of a sudden, like, this happened to my town and I know these people,
Hmm.
which is, it gives you chills to think,
Right.
like, you could just be casually paying attention because you're like, hey, this is an issue that I'm interested in. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's your school or your gas station or your parade or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the year before you started the project, we had a mass shooting in our mall. And that was like the first time that's happened here. And it was just like, it wrecked people. And I didn't know anybody. Like, I'm not connected to anybody that was there involved,
Mhm.
but it still was just like, shit. Like, this place feels so safe until it doesn't. And I'm sure people feel that way about a lot of towns in the country, but
Mhm.
to have been so privileged, and I do recognize it's very privileged that I grew up in such a safe space, like such a safe city, that like I never think that that's going to happen here. And it's like it it doesn't happen until it does, right? And so
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
just
we had two shootings just this week, and one of them was 3 streets down from me in the middle of the night. I didn't even hear it. Like, it happens very frequently. I mean, it wasn't a mass shooting, like, it was,
right, but
one
still,
person, but, like, I mean, that person still has a family. That person still has people who love them and will forever be missed, and their
yeah,
life will be completely changed if they survive. So,
yeah,
I mean, even those incidents, like, just because they're not, you know, on every newspaper and we're not all talking about them, doesn't mean that it doesn't matter.
yeah.
And I saw statistics recently, which has stuck in my mind and probably will forever, that I think it was the University of Colorado Boulder had done a recent study where they determined that 1 in 15 Americans has been on the scene of a mass shooting. So if you think
Wow.
about like the average classroom in America, which is like 30 kids now,
Yeah.
roughly,
Hmm.
that's 2 kids per classroom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's asinine. And it does. It happens so often and so frequently. And now this administration is rolling back any sort of protections that the Biden administration tried to put in place. And, now the modifications to turn, regular weapons into automatic weapons is like,
Mhm.
you can do it now. And it's like, for what purpose? Like, I know people say Second Amendment this, Second Amendment that, but like, I don't think the intention was that every freaking gravy seal in America gets to have a gun because he feels like he needs to protect himself. Like, if you have a gun in one of those situations, like, you're more likely to get shot or injured than you
Mhm.
are to actually do anything to help. So, like, if people are like, oh, if I had a gun in that situation, it's like, no, you don't know what you would do because you're not ever in a combat situation unless you are combat trained. Like, you don't know what you would do in that situation. You might know how to shoot your gun, but like, you shoot at targets. You don't shoot at moving people who are also shooting weapons. Like, there's just like all these factors that nobody actually considers. Like, I
No.
don't know what I would do. Like, I'm kind of a freezer when things kind of get weird. And I'm like, because I'm like, I don't know what to do. Should I run? Should I hide? Whatever. And like doing the drills with my kids over and over again, I still like, even though I knew it was a drill, I'm still standing there with like an improvised weapon with my kids all
Mhm.
tucked behind me, protecting them out the door, having built a barricade and also knowing I built the trust of these 25 kids behind me. Know they know that I would do anything to save them. And like, their only job is to hide or run. Like,
Mhm.
it's just like, I can't even, like, how are you okay with sending your kid to school every day knowing that there's a possibility that they won't come home because you won't even consider that we need a little bit stricter law, even just a little bit stricter laws on weapons and like access to guns.
Well, and the thing is, like from personal experience, I can tell you, you have no idea how you're going to react in a violent situation.
Hmm.
And the way that you react in a violent situation is going to vary based on the situation. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, I used to work in a psychiatric hospital. And so, I've been assaulted.
Yeah.
And my reaction to my assault varies widely based on who is assaulting me, my threat level that I
Hmm.
think is there, my relationship with the person.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I can recall scenarios in which somebody who is regularly combative and regularly assaultive, like I'm prepared for that situation.
Right.
So I'm more likely to respond in a combative way, in a way that is protective to my like my person.
Hmm.
And whereas I know that in a situation where like there was a patient that I was very close with, had a very strong relationship with, and they assaulted me, like people didn't even know to come to my aid for a while because I was just laughing hysterically.
Mm.
Because that was my reaction, was to laugh hysterically, because not because it was funny, but because I was so uncomfortable and I didn't know what to do, because I wouldn't have expected this person to hurt me.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like, that's a great example because it's like, it's a reaction. It's not a response if you're not prepared for it. Like you said, with there's certain personalities, certain people, like, I need to be on my guard. I need to be fully aware. Or with someone if you're with someone who your guard is down with because you don't feel like you need to be protective of yourself, then it's like, when it does happen, or if it does happen, then it's like so much more shocking. And it's like, yeah, you go into these shock responses where you're like, why am I
Mhm.
laughing right now? Like, I'm in terrible danger. Like, this is not funny, you know?
Like I'm getting my whole face scratched off. Why am I like laughing
Yeah.
hysterically? That's not appropriate. But
Right.
I mean, it also kind of explains why women, particularly pregnant women, are more likely to be murdered and assaulted and shot by
Hmm.
their partners if there's a gun in the house. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I mean, your guard is always going to be down if it's someone you love. Like,
Right.
you're not necessarily going to be expecting that, even if you have a combative relationship, or you have an assaultive relationship, like, you might be expecting it, but there's a, there's nuance to that.
Right. Right. There's a part of you that thinks like, well, they would never do that. They would never go that far.
Right.
But that's what, you know,
But yeah, I mean, when homicide by gun is the number one killer of pregnant people in America, and not like preeclampsia or, any
right.
pregnancy related complication,
Right.
it really tells you a lot about how we view guns, how we view women, how we view
Right.
a lot of things in this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Ugh. Um, so what, because you're specifically documenting mass shootings. So what made you decide on that distinction? Or was it just like, as you started looking at data, was it just like very clear right off the bat that it was going to be too much to try to do all of it? Or yeah, like what made you decide to go one way or the other?
I was looking for like quantifiable data that I could easily access, because I knew there was no way for me to access like regularly shootings that happened every single day. I know that there's shootings that happen across the United States every single day,
Yeah.
multiple, so numerous that I probably can't even count. I mean, there were 502 mass shootings, which means four or more people were injured or killed in the course of a single shooting just last year. So like, think about like the single incidents that occur. Like, there was no way for me to document or even find all of that data.
Yeah.
So I tried to find something that was had a little bit more shock and awe, for lack of value, like for lack of like better word to say, like,
Yeah.
to be able to find data that I could regularly access, because
Okay.
there is a an archive called the Gun Violence Archive that post that every single day. You can go on there and you can see every single incident that's occurred. But there's no way to do that for all gun violence incidents. So it really just came down to what could I actually document.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think shock and awe is appropriate because I think when people physically see, like, so far, like, there has been so many, just like you said, 502,
Mm-hmm.
504 from last year,
Yeah.
just from January to April, which you can go onto your Instagram or even my Instagrams, like, and see the first panel that we completed together. It's a twin size quilt and it's
Mhm.
just January through April from 2024. So like, and even that, seeing that, people are like, what? That's only 4 months. It's like, yeah,
Mhm. Well,
like,
yeah, I mean, and like, I have some blocks next to me. I know if you're listening, you can't see what I'm doing,
go to
but
YouTube.
yeah, you can go to YouTube. But if I mean, you can see like the blocks are literally like the size of my hand. It's not like
Yeah,
I'm making these massive blocks to make it
no.
seem like it's a bigger problem than it is. I tried to make them so that they're legible
Hmm.
and that they're easy to put together. But not so big that it would be, I didn't want to make it as big. My original intent was that I could have the whole year on one single quilt. But then when I assembled the first 4 months, it became very clear to me that that was never going to fit on anyone's long arm.
Yeah,
So, so I had to
yeah,
break it down into three parts just to even get it so that it was quiltable, which
yeah,
is horrific in and of itself.
yeah, yeah. And just like in our conversations, because once I had offered my services and you were like, yeah, let's do it. Just our back and forth of like, okay, what can we do? Like, what's the biggest size? Like, what can fit? And I was like, well, we're kind of limited to these dimensions.
Mhm.
And just that alone was like, okay, well, this is definitely gonna have to get broken up because you're like, I'm already at a twin size with this, just this much. And so, knowing that there's two, two more times more of that to do, it's like, how do you make it manageable and give it give it at least an opportunity to be displayed somewhere in a reasonable manner too. Because I think
Mhm.
like, there can be big art installations and, that happens, but I think it's more feasible and could be more like shared more widely if it's in smaller pieces, smaller, more manageable bits. And so,
Mhm.
and you're right, like they're not that big. The pieces they're not huge, but they're not obviously minuscule. You've got some hanging out behind you and
Mhm.
right
Yeah,
now.
this is May and June right here behind me. So,
Yeah. So I think it is visually impactful. And I think, yeah, there's no feasible way to really visually represent every single person that gets shot. Um, because yeah, I don't think it would ever end. Um,
no.
so that's cool. So if anybody wants to check it out, they can go to the Gun Violence Archive online. Is it
Mhm.
.com or .org?
I think it's .org.
Okay.
Gunviolencearchive.org, I
Okay.
believe.
And I'll put it in the show notes so that if people want to go check it out themselves and see the data that is there, then they can visit like for themselves, go check out where you're grabbing the data from and what information, because they have more than just the mass shootings. They obviously have like more data there. So you can kind of see um what that information is there. But it was just resonated with me when I started seeing you posting it. And we chatted behind the scenes about you needed to take breaks, and like I think I'm just gonna like pull back from this a little bit. But I think obviously with the turn of the election cycle and everything kind of going down how it has been more important, I think, for people to highlight what's going on. And I think sometimes it can be scary, and you look at the news and there's all these different things, and the 24-hour news cycle can just be so exhausting.
Mhm.
And I think what you're adding to the space is so valuable. And yeah, it's not always quilting, but I think quilting has always been political. It's always been protest. Like, and when it has been colonized and whitewashed is where it gets dangerous, because then we forget, like, no, literally slaves were making quilts out of the threadbare, barely available materials they could get their hands on, and then they were using them as ways to communicate to each other so that they could try to get free from enslavement. And that that deep importance in the tradition of quilting, I think, gets forgotten sometimes with all the pretty fabric and all the fun patterns and fun ways to engage with it, because it is fun and it is pretty and there are so many gorgeous things to touch and look at and make. And
And there's nothing wrong with that either.
exactly. But
But I mean, I enjoy making things that are frivolous and beautiful and
yeah,
fun. I love making a good bag,
yeah,
like that's part of the hobby. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, even just looking at protest photos that I've seen recently, like seeing all the textiles that are brought to these protests, like really kind of harken back to a lot of the pictures you see from like the 60s and the
hmm,
Vietnam protests and things like that, where you're like, this is consistent, like these textiles in this way have consistently been a part of this alternative way to get your point across. And art can definitely speak so much more than words can. Like, I could sit here all day and I could tell you over and over how profound our gun violence problem is in the United States and what this looks like. And I could use all the words that I have in the world. I could do it until I'm blue in the face. But if I just turn around and I show you this quilt right here, which is a month and a half, not even 2 months, and
yeah,
it's, a throw size quilt.
hmm,
I think this one's probably going to be bigger than the last one that you and I did, so be prepared.
I'm ready.
Um, uh, I mean, I think that really speaks in a whole different way. And I think that's where art really comes in, is to really convey those things in a way that words fail to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's another way to um engage in your First Amendment right to free speech and to speak out against things that you don't think are right, or that to showcase like the impact that gun violence has on our country in a different way than just yelling like ban
Mhm.
guns. It's like, I mean, yeah, but also like we need to honor and memorialize these human lives and understand that this is impacting people's real, actual everyday lives, and not just, it's not just some news story. It's not just some untangible thing. It's not just some like ghost story you tell your kids at night. Like it's real. It's happening to people every day. And until it touches you, like it's so easy to be like disassociated from it.
Mhm. It's very easy to say that will never happen to me, but have you ever gone to a grocery store? Have you ever gone to a parade? Have you ever been at a zoo? Have you ever gone to your kid's choir concert? Like,
Mhm.
there's nothing special about you that makes it so that you could not be touched by this.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
something that we all need to realize. And I think that's something that this quilt really does for people is it really makes that point hit home. Like if those all of those people have been touched by this, who
Hmm.
am I to think that I could not be? Why
Right.
would I be so special that I couldn't end up on this quilt?
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I could end up on this. I could make my own block for all I know. Hopefully
Right.
not.
Knock on wood that that doesn't
Like,
happen, but
hopefully not. But like, there's nothing special about me that protects me from potentially being a victim.
right.
Like we all could. The way that things are in our society, and they will
Hmm.
only get worse as our protections decrease
Yeah.
and tensions run higher. Because it's
Hmm.
not like, people are walking around with cool heads right now.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say the
So,
emotional dysregulation doesn't help. And we're not hearing from, I mean, there are, if you're looking for voices to show you how and to help you, they're there, right?
mhm,
There's so many like awesome psychologists and therapists that are sharing information freely online because they're trying to make it more accessible, which is so great. But if you're not looking for that, if you're just looking for validation in your rage, like there's a lot of loud voices right now to find,
mhm,
and it just makes things worse. And so yeah, it's like no one's that special that they can just rest on the knowledge that they'll never end up on your quilt. Like
mhm.
they might.
You
Just like
might.
you, like you said, you could end up on your own quilt. You never know. But that's like, it's not like you're willing that to happen. I think some people are like,
No.
oh, you don't talk like that. It's like, but it's the reality of this world that we live in. It's the reality of the society that we have allowed to be built around us. And by choosing the people we have to be in power, and whether we liked it or not, some of us have been complacent in the way that that has come about. And it sucks. And this is where we're at. But it's like we
Mhm,
all have little ways we can fight back, and little ways and big ways. But I think that this quilt really speaks to a way that people can tangibly fight back. And I think that you opening it up to allowing other people to help you with the 2025 or to finish 2024, right? And
mhm.
then to start 2025.
Yeah,
Uh,
I ended up with an opportunity to show this at a gallery, and I really wanted to get as many of them out there as possible. And it's really hard for me with the volume, and I work full time. I'm not a full time artist, and just to get this done because there's just so many. I mean, I would have had to make 502 blocks and then sew them all together and then send them to you and make a backing. Like that's a lot of
yeah.
work to get done on a Saturday,
Hmm.
basically. Because like I mostly quilt on the weekends. That's when I have time. So I was blown away by how many people wanted to help with this project. And I think that's another thing that really taught me like it's worth keeping going. It's worth having this conversation over and over and again. And it means something to other people, not just me.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, I feel like there's a responsibility for me to kind of carry this on and keep this conversation going. There are times where I kind of want to do something else because, like we all get
Yeah.
a little stir crazy and want to try something else. So I hope in the future I have a little bit more time and can explore some of that. But um yeah, it's really been helpful to be able to ask to have people help me out with this project, and not just like I feel like I'm not just the one that benefits from it. Like
Yeah.
it's been really really interesting to have the conversations with the people who have made the block so far,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been like, I have been watching you make this, and I felt very much like I intimately understood the experience you were having and how you were feeling about this. But then when I physically had to make these blocks myself and I had to read about the stories that these represented, and I had to understand how many of these happen in a week, because each quilter is making 1 week, there's 52 quilters. Um, it really opened their eyes in a whole new way. And I feel like that adds even more to the conversation, because while I have tons to say on the subject, there's there's so much that could be added by adding more voices. And that's really important to me too. And it was really important for me to feel like this isn't just my project. Like if I'm going to open it up to 52 other people, those 52 other people, like this is their project too. Like they
Mm-hmm.
get to share however they want to about their feelings, about their experience. Like I
Yeah.
want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear how it made them feel. I want to hear their experiences, because that makes this stronger. That makes this conversation stronger. This makes this art piece stronger. Like, it's fine for me to have a conversation. It's fine for me to have an opinion about this, but to have 52 other people be able to stand with me and be like, this is how I feel. And then have you be able to use your art to enhance the project even more. Like, it honestly, the work you did on the quilt was fantastic. I have
Thank
never gotten
you.
a quilt long armed. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, oh God, help me figure this out. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So as we worked through like getting an idea together of what we wanted to do, and what we eventually did do is write over the top of it, because the goal of it is to have it look like a large piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
Large piece
Yeah.
of paper with tally marks that someone's hand like tallying each time an incident happens. And then the handwriting that we did over the top of it kind of looks like if you had put another piece of paper over the top of it and just like angrily written
Yeah.
over it repeatedly, and then it left those indents.
Mm-hmm.
And you nailed it. Like,
Thank
and
you.
I just loved like the conversation that we had between us and the collaboration that we had,
Yeah.
where, I kind of had this idea of like, I want this phrase. And the phrase was, is this what freedom feels like? Because that's constantly what people talk about when it comes to the Second Amendment. Like, oh, you're going to take away my freedom, which, like, we can get into what the Second Amendment really was for, but it wasn't that. Um,
Right. Right. Yeah.
I've
Like
got a
we
great book suggestion if you need it.
missed the mark, buddy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so, but what I really liked about like the collaboration between us is that like you went with it, but as you started going, like you were like, I can feel myself getting angry as I'm working on this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and just you taking the moment to be like, what if I did this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if I let that anger show in what we're making? And that was fucking beautiful. Like it perfectly, like it
I'm
perfectly
blushing.
did what it needed to do, because I mean like that's your art. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's, this is your quilt as much as it's my quilt. Like you really put the cherry on top, and
Uh,
you really like brought it home and perfectly like perfectly made it exactly as I would have wanted it to be if I could even envision what I wanted.
right. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for all your kind words, because it really like I was like so like I was like, okay, I need to make it perfect. Like I was like, I need to impress Erin. Like I need this to be good so that like I can keep working with her. Like whatever. I just like I wanted your vision to come to life. And I wanted like we had been talking and like I knew I was going to be writing on there. So I was like, okay, great. We like got a sizing and I was like, okay, this is great. So I was like kind of going through and practicing just like moving the machine without stitching so I could kind of get the flow down and like, okay, this is great. So I'm like going through and just like doing each word carefully and like, you know, doing the question mark and like writing out the full sentence and I did like one pass like uh filled the throat space that was available and with it and then as I moved it up I was like but I'm really mad now. Like the more I write this, because
Mhm.
I'm just thinking the phrase over and over again so that I don't misspell anything or don't get ahead of myself and like miss a word because that would be embarrassing. But as I was like continually thinking this phrase, is this what freedom feels like? Like it was harder for me to stay so boxed and so like proper and contained. And so that's when I was like, I'm going to stop. And then I immediately texted you and I was like, well, what if I went a little bit nuts? Like, and I'm so grateful that like you're truly open to that collaboration because as a long arm quilter, like it can be really hard when somebody chooses something that you're like, that's going to be fucking ugly. And it doesn't really happen that often. Like actually it doesn't really ever happen, but it has a couple times and it's been a little frustrating because I'm like putting a pantograph on a quilt that I know it's just like not right for it because like quilts
Mhm.
talk to me. They really do, I swear. But this one like it just felt so smooth like the conversation, the collaboration, like the perspective. I think because we've had similar experiences of working in environments that are supposed to be safe and for the growth and happiness of children to just like have to break that safety by being like someone might come in here and want to kill you for no reason and
Mhm.
here's how you're going to hide your tiny little body. And I'm now responsible for my life and your lives. And it's like, can't I just teach arithmetic? Like, that's what I'm here for. I'm a third
Right.
grade teacher. Like, these kids are 8. This is a fucking ridiculous conversation. So, like, I know I have that anger in me. I know I have that like frustration in me because I've lived it so much. And so, I think just also feeling heard by you in that sense of like, being able to express that within the quilting itself, but also just to you and knowing that you would hear me and like be able to like have a back and forth about it, I think does make it a true collaboration. Cause like although you pieced all the blocks and you built that and you started the project, like you allowed me to then put my art to it and just like give it something else, give it another story, another life. And it just feels so important and impactful to me. So I'm so grateful that you were willing to let me try my hand at it because I'm like, I've never done anything like this. I've never done anything kind of protest style or type of anything. Like, I've never gone to a protest. I've never, well, until I went to like the Bernie and AOC rally the other day, but I was like even
I'm
scared to
proud of
do
you.
that. Thanks. I was even scared to do that, but I was like, you know what? No, like this is for there's violence everywhere, there's crime everywhere, but where I live is still relatively safe. Like our police force does a pretty good job of keeping the peace, especially at rallies and things like that, protests. And so I'm like, you know what, I'll kick myself if I don't go. And I'm finally starting to feel so brave in my like stance and my beliefs. And so anyway, side note, but yeah, the quilting process was definitely like something I've never experienced before. So that was just so interesting to experience in and of itself, but then to have like a collaborative partner who is like fully understands and was just like, go for broke, dude. Like, do what you got to do. And then to be able to deliver it to you in person, I think was the most magical part.
That was amazing for me, to be perfectly honest. Because I mean, I've never invested in that way in my art. I've never
Mhm.
gotten a quilt long armed before. Like, so it was a big deal for me. Like, especially like to have it done in like a very custom way. I was like, I don't know what it's gonna look like. I'm a little
Mhm.
nervous. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
did I make the right choice? Like, and I was pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
Like, I felt really good about it. Like, one thing that I really appreciated about our conversations that we had about like how you were gonna long arm it and like how you were saying, like, as I'm working on this, like, I'm getting fucking pissed. Like, that really
Hmm.
spoke to me because I feel like sometimes because I talk about a lot of really serious subjects, people expect me to be really sober and serious, like
You're not
really
though.
somber. And I am sarcastic as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
and I, so like, and anger is naturally the emotion that I would feel instead of like weepy, sad,
Yeah. I get
like
mad.
I get mad instead of sad. Like, and
Hmm.
even when I'm sad, it comes out as mad. Like,
Hmm.
I probably need to workshop that a little bit, but like it's the truth. It's just
Yeah.
who I am and I recognize that. So
Yeah.
seeing you have that same experience, whereas like a lot of times I will get a lot of like, oh, I just don't know how you could do this. Like I'd be crying all the time. Like I'm not a crier. Like I'm pissed. I'm fucking pissed. Like
Yeah.
that, and like that's where I am. So it felt really validating to have somebody kind of come at it with the same energy that I have, who wasn't like, I'm just really struggling to long arm this because I'm weeping. And like, if
Yeah.
that's how you feel, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm not
Right.
criticizing the fact that, like, seeing things like this make you cry. Like, that's normal. That's a normal emotion for you to have. And like,
Yeah.
there's something wrong that I don't. But
No.
like, having someone else that I'm collaborating on this project with be able to bring the same energy to me and be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not weeping over this thing. I want to freaking stab someone because I'm so mad.
Yeah.
Like that was helpful and healing for me to
Oh,
hear
good.
because usually I'm like, am I an emotionless robot? Like
No.
people expect me to be sobbing and I'm not. I'm just angry.
Yeah. No, and I think it's like just like with your reaction to someone like coming at you when you're not expecting it, it's the same thing in this. It's like I think I kind of expected to be like weepier or more sad, I guess. I don't know. I don't think I had any expectations about my feelings about it. I already know how I feel about it. Like I am pissed about it all the time. Like it's one of those things that just like nothing's no representative that I have seen is doing enough to make sure that this gets addressed. And so I don't I don't know where the anger is supposed to go, right? So like having a quilt to work it out on was so great. And I mean, yeah, like I think I just let myself feel how I felt. And like there were some tears, but it was like anger. Like we
Hmm.
deserve better. Like our country, us as human beings, like we all deserve better. And like I don't care where you're from. I don't care where you live. I don't care what you look like. I don't care about any of that. Like you deserve better than to be living in fear that you might get shot by someone who doesn't have any emotional regulation and has access to a weapon that they probably shouldn't have access to, you know? And so, yeah, anyway, it's just, it was interesting too for me as well. And I was just so glad that like we could be so understanding of each other on that and just be like, this is the direction this needs to go. And almost like an, just like an organic, natural progression. Cause I was trying to force it to be like really nice and neat. Cause I know this is going to get displayed and it's going to a gallery. And I just like really want this to be like high quality. Cause that's my jam. Like my job is
Hmm.
finishing quilts with high quality, quilting and backing and binding and all these things. It's like I'm turning out a product that like I need to be really proud of or it doesn't leave the door. And the same thing for this, but it was just such a different project than what I'm used to doing that like being able to fully express myself in that was just like such a gift. And I'm excited to do the next ones because I know that there's just more of that in there. And like, I think I've always just kind of felt like there's not really a way, I haven't found a way yet that feels like I'm expressing that piece that I very strongly believe in and have a strong, you know, strong opinion about. And
Mhm.
so being able to collaborate with you has like kind of helped me channel that, like, yes, this is, and I think, I hope, well, I hope that for the quilters who have joined you and who are helping you build the quilt blocks and the, taking a week at a time, like, that they feel that sense too, that like, yeah, we're all in this together. It's not just your project. You started it, but like you're allowing other people in so that we can all take ownership of it. Cause that's what it's going to take, honestly. If we're going to flip any of this, if we're going to make any difference, like as citizens, like it takes a lot more than just one of us. Like,
Exactly. Like, and that's part of it is like I noticed that there was a lot of focus on me and like
mhm,
what I'm doing and
yeah.
like, oh, people would talk about this project as if it were like me. And like, sure, like I am the one who is making it,
Mhm.
but I should not be the focus of this project. It should be the people who are affected by this project. So, what I also really liked about bringing in more community, bringing in more artists, like having it be a more collaborative experience, is it takes some of the focus off of me. Like, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be about me. It
Right.
should be about who was injured, who was killed, what the purpose of this is, not, oh, you're great, you're doing this thing. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I appreciate kind words and like
Right.
encouragement. I'm not saying I don't, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying like
Yeah.
it, I'm not a saint. Like, I'm not doing anything that anyone else is incapable of doing.
Hmm.
I'm just angrier, I guess, and
Right.
more determined. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really appreciated that it kind of does show, like, if you could just take a week, everybody takes a week, we all can join in this project. I mean, you can use that as a metaphor for democracy, for
Right.
what's happening right now. How do we attack it? Like, how do you eat an elephant? You do it one bite at a time, and
Right.
everybody takes a bite, right?
Right.
So I mean, and I hope that it's helpful to be able to be a part of a process like this, because I know there are a lot of people that are participating that like this isn't something they'd be comfortable putting themselves out there and doing
Right.
or sharing about necessarily even, but like it's something that's important to them and they kind of want to dip a toe in and they want to, be a part of the community and they want to try and they want to get out there and kind of test themselves and push themselves, and that's beautiful. Like, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Like, I love to be able to be, that person for somebody to encourage them, because we can all do that. Like,
Yeah.
everybody has the ability to put themselves out there. It's just taking that first step, and if that first step is making a block on this quilt, then awesome, thank you for helping me. Like, I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's more than just 52 people, because I know I was, you had sent out the sign up and I was like, oh great, I'm gonna go in and grab a week, because I'm like, although I'm long arming it, like that's in the future and that's just like part of it, right? And I was like, I can
Mhm.
make a week. All the spots were filled within like 12 hours. Like it, I think you sent it out in like on an evening, and I went in like the very next morning because I just couldn't get to it at that moment. But I was like, okay, I'm doing this. It was already full, and I was like, oh my god, okay, like great, this is awesome. And like one of my dear local friends, like she signed up for a week. She's already got her blocks in because she's so excited to be a part of this. And
I
like,
just got them the other day.
yay, love you, Michelle. Yeah, she was like so excited to participate. And like when the first panel got to me, when you sent it to me, she was like, is it there yet? She was like checking in with me every day, like, is it gotten there, has it gotten there? She's like, I need to come see it, I want to come see it in person. And I'm like, okay, I'll tell you when it's here. But just like, she found you through me, but it's like she also feels very strongly about it. She's got kids in school and she wants her kids to be safe, and she's a labor and delivery nurse and like sees atrocious shit all the time, and like
Mhm.
wants to be a voice in support of positive change and for more safety, for more caring about each other. And so it was just like so cool to see that she like got so involved right away. And I was like, oh sweet. And she's like, okay, I gotta go get some red and blue fabric for the tally blocks. And I was like, no, you don't. And I like grabbed some of the scrap I have. I'm like, here you go, take this with you. She was like, oh, sweet, I'm gonna go get started right away. Like, so
Love that.
yeah, it was just kind of fun, like fun knowing that like I'm also contributing in other ways by getting more people involved, but also like physically, and just seeing how many people do want to be involved and who do want to dip a toe in if this is new to them, and hopefully it encourages them to do more too, because like I know
Mhm.
for me it's encouraging me to think about what more I can do as well. And although, my time is a little bit limited, I know that there's other things that are out there for me to do and to participate in. So I think it definitely opened that up for me, so I appreciate that, and hopefully it's doing the same for the other artists who are participating and contributing. And you know, I hope they get that same feeling when they see their art all together and hanging up and being displayed, and the impact that that's going to have.
I also think it takes something really morose
Hmm.
and frustrating and sad and awful and turns it into an opportunity for community,
Yeah.
which brings empathy
Hmm.
and joy
Hmm.
and the things you wouldn't normally associate with a project like this. It brings those because people are lacking that. People don't have those feelings, especially when it comes to this subject. Like they feel alone. Like, who is caring about my kid, that I have to send off to school and I don't know if they're going to come back with a backpack or a body bag? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it gives people kind of an outlet to have those conversations, to know they're not alone. And that brings something positive to
Hmm.
something that is inherently negative. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of value to that too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's something to be said for finding joy in the hard times and in the sad and scary things that are occurring. But I think it's also kind of an act of defiance in a way of like, yes, this is terrible and I'm doing something about it, but I'm also going to create an environment of joy with the people that I'm with, that I'm doing this with, so that we have something to hang on to and push through with. Because if you only hang on to the sad and the anger and the morose and all those other negative feelings, like it can be really disheartening. And I think for you, you experienced that. You were kind of harboring a lot of other people's shit and
Hmm.
their opinions of your project and what you were doing and their quote unquote concern for you, and it wore you down. Like you had to step away because you couldn't carry it all by yourself. And so when you did decide to finally go, fuck off, I'm going to do this my way, I'm fine, like
Yeah.
then it changed, right? So
Hmm.
I think there is something to be said for that. And so yeah, I think it's just important to put it out there. So okay, so you've got the one, is it just the one panel, or are we going to get at least two panels into that gallery?
Hopefully five.
All five? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. No, I'm excited. I'm just like,
Okay.
I'm like, what are we doing? Um,
Hopefully five. You've got one down, so just
yeah,
four more to go, right?
yeah. Honestly, I yeah. It's funny because I think like, because I do so much like edge to edge quilting, the free motion, like kind of custom work, like I forget how much time it actually does take.
Hmm.
It's like I always feel so like accomplished and satisfied when I get to the end of something that I've like done custom or whatever. And even when it's just right, like I'm literally writing the same phrase over and over again, it still is like I get to the bottom and I'm like, yeah, like let's do another one.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Um,
Well, and I'll get, we'll come up with some different phrases. So you won't have to do the same thing for all
yeah,
of them. Like,
yeah, it'll be good.
yeah.
Um, so when is it? Yeah, when will it be in that gallery? Do you have dates?
I do. I need to look at the dates, but it'll be January 2026 to March 2026. It's going to be in a gallery in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I will give you some more information on that when the date gets closer.
Okay. And then what do you want to do with them after that? Are you wanting to, have other galleries or other places host them?
My goal, my dream is that it would be a traveling show
Okay.
that because I think it would be really powerful to be able to walk through all of the different panels, all the different quilts, and see like through the years what this has looked like. I think it'll be interesting to see how that changes through administrations, for
Mm-hmm.
example, and how the different laws change the perspective of that. And so that's my long-term goal that I would like to see. I don't have any plans yet. I have one other place that it's going to be shown, and I'll share some information on that when I've got all of that nailed down. But
Okay.
I will say that is the hardest thing for me so far.
Yeah.
Like, because coming from the quilt world, like, it's very put it in a quilt show. Well, you
Mm-hmm.
can't put something like this in a quilt show. Not because you can't put like, I mean, sure, I could put a single quilt in a quilt show, but I
Right.
can't do what the goal is in a
Right.
quilt show style, right? Like I can't have like 6 quilts in a quilt show and all, like unless I'm the featured artist,
All
which
right.
that's not the part of my career where I'm in. Maybe one day. But
Right.
that's not where I'm right now.
No.
So so I feel like that's the biggest learning curve for me right now is figuring out where to reach out to, who to reach out to, who might be
Mm-hmm.
interested in this, like how to break into that world a little bit. And I've been
Yeah.
lucky that some people have found me and
Yeah.
made that interest, like made that, a little bit easier for me to be able
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how to do that because they've come to me.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't expect it to be that easy all the time. And I don't expect that to happen all the time. So that's something
Right.
I'm definitely working on and learning. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I would think that that's a little bit daunting too, to be like, who would where where do I even put this? Like who
Yeah.
can host even that? Like, because it's like, yeah, a quilt show. It's like, yeah, but like you were saying, unless you're the featured artist, unless you put your quilts in all different categories, which that can only go so far when they're all made
Right.
very similarly. Um, yeah, like where do you host 5 or 6 quilt panels that are meant to be seen together for the visual impact? Like,
Hmm.
okay, so we need to look for or have someone contact you if they know of any place for next year for 2026 that is looking for or can host a
Hmm.
larger style walkthrough
That'd be amazing.
display of quilts that are demonstrating mass shootings in America. Okay. Well, we're putting the call out there. Hopefully somebody hears this and goes, I have the exact place, and
Right.
it's gonna
Hey,
happen. I just
you
feel it.
know, you just manifest it, right?
Yeah,
Like just put it out into the universe.
just white girl manifested. It's
Gonna
fine.
it's gonna come back.
Yes.
We can all
I,
hope, right? I mean,
yeah.
for just some good luck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. What's gonna happen?
Figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's awesome. And I mean, I'm excited to get the next panel. So chop chop chili dog.
All right. I'm working on it.
No, it's good. Whenever you get it to me is fine. Um, and yeah, and I just want to say thank you to the 52 other quilters who have joined in, and this project means a lot to both you and me,
Mhm.
and to be able to be another collaborator in it is just like so awesome to me, and it just has brought a lot of unexpected but really important things up for me, like feelings and thoughts and kind of motivations. And so it's just been interesting for me to experience. And so I was just like, I'm just wondering like what other people are experiencing, and then seeing people start to post when they're making the blocks and reading what they're sharing and what they're experiencing, you know, in building their parts to contribute. It's just been so, heartbreaking, but also really cool to see at the same time. And although it's a really shitty reason to be making a quilt, it's still like necessary,
Mhm.
and the impact it's having so far, even just being shared on social media, is like really cool to see too. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that so many people did want to contribute and help out with it. I put the call out and I had no idea if anyone would even respond
Yeah.
because, it is a heavy project. It's not
Mhm.
something that's inherently fun, but I was really touched by how many people, I think I had like 100 people reach out to me, and I unfortunately didn't have room for everybody. So it was kind of like a, if you got the time and you can get in first, like great.
Yeah,
But we'll see if I can keep it going, I'll keep it going, and there'll be
yeah,
more opportunities in the future. So
that's
we'll
awesome.
see.
Yeah. And so if people still want to support you some way or offer like yeah, offer support to you, is there other ways that you're looking for support from people if they want to contribute in some way?
I mean, sharing the project is very helpful, especially if you know somebody who might be able to amplify it in some way. Like you want to send it to, tag your senator, tag your representative. Like if you know somebody in your local Moms Demand Action group or somebody locally that could benefit from, using this project in some way, like tag them, share it, you know, do do what you need to do in order to get it out there. That's very helpful. I have a on my account on Instagram. I like you. There's a little link to my buy my coffee buy you a coffee. What is it called? I don't know. Something like that.
It's
Buy
like
me
buy
a
me a
coffee
coffee.
is what it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
Account where you can donate. So if you're not a quilter and but you want to give $5 to help me pay Amanda to do the long arming or pay for shipping to get it to a gallery or pay
Yeah.
for fabric. So we can create this quilt. Like that's extremely helpful. The donations have been amazing. I've been so shocked and very grateful for how generous people have been. And
Mhm.
it really helps keep it going because I mean, it is an expensive project to do. I mean,
Mhm.
fabric's expensive and it's only going to get more expensive.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I mean, your services are very worth it, and but they're not cheap either.
No.
So,
I'm not
like,
cheap. Sorry, guys.
and they shouldn't be. So that's extremely helpful to be able to pay you appropriately, to be able to get this quilt where it needs to go, to be seen, to be
Yeah.
able to, use it for entries, to
Mhm.
be able to get it seen. Like, that's extremely helpful.
Okay.
So those are the two biggest things. Share it, and if you want to donate and help make more of these panels, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll put the link to the gun violence archive. I'll put the link to your buy me a coffee. So if people want to monetarily um support they can. And then always they can go to your Instagram at Seam Ripper Society
Mhm.
to find all those things and to see the project and see what other people have been making to contribute. Because as people have been making their week of blocks, they've been posting and sharing or tagging you as collaborators so that it
Mhm.
is also on your feed as well. So people can go do that. So that's awesome. And yeah, we're looking for places to display these babies and yeah, we'll keep making them because I think until something changes, it's just it's going to be an issue. It's going to be something that affects us all and if we're already at 1 in 15 Americans, I can't imagine what it's going to be in the next couple of years knowing that some safety laws have been rolled back. So, unfortunately,
Yeah, I think it's only going to get bigger,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, um I mean, to round it out, I usually ask guests if they have a tip or a piece of advice to offer the listeners, but I don't know if you have anything that you want to share.
I think my best tip that I shared was actually earlier, where if you want to do work like this and you're worried about getting a lot of backlash, um, you probably will at first because it
Yeah.
will be different than what you have been doing, but stay the course. It's okay to get a little backlash. It's okay to get um some, not so great feedback. Like
Hmm.
get in your group chat and talk some shit and like feel better about it. Like it's not gonna be okay. Stay the course. And then if you get nasty comments from people you don't know, like just screenshot that bitch and just get rid of it, block
Yeah.
it, and then take it to your stories and talk all the shit that you want to talk. Like that is my biggest tip to keep those people away is don't invite them. Don't let them be in your space and don't let them take up space in your space.
Mm-hmm.
Um because I would say like that's the biggest thing that I get questions about is not like how do I do the actual work? Like
Right.
a lot of people contact me and they have an amazing idea for a wonderful project that's going to be so fascinating and so amazing to see, but they're terrified to put it out there because they're like, I don't want to get screamed at and threatened and like told that I'm, a
Mm-hmm.
dumb or something.
Yeah.
And like, nobody wants that.
Right.
But it's okay if it happens.
Yeah.
That's my biggest advice is it's okay if it happens. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to be for everybody and everybody doesn't have to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
And as time goes on, as you build that reputation, as you put more of that out there, like you'll attract the energy that you need to attract and the energy you don't need and the people you don't need will like, the trash takes itself out.
I mean,
So
yeah, it does. It truly does, especially when I think when you lean into more fully like your full self, if you show up as your full self, like, yeah, people will exit that can't match that energy or very suddenly find themselves at odds with you. And like, I think that's definitely a lesson I've learned hard the last year and a half or so. And it's been honestly like so freeing too, because it's like, yeah, I don't have to try to pretend to be anything else than what I am anymore. And not that I had to before, but you know what I mean? Like,
but there's naturally like that
y-
discomfort of
right,
like, oh, I don't want to upset anyone. Oh, I don't want to make anyone feel a certain way. Or
right.
this person's disappointed in me all of a
Mhm.
sudden. Like, I get those kind of DMs sometimes where they're like, I didn't know you would do such a thing, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like, and I'm like, well, I'm my own human. And
right.
like, sometimes, we can agree on the vast majority of things, but we're not going to like meet eye to eye on one subject. And that's okay. Like, as
Yeah,
long as we, on the vast majority of things can see eye to eye, like, we can probably be friends. It's probably
yeah,
gonna be okay.
yeah.
But if we don't, like, it's okay for us not to be friends. Like, it's okay
Right.
for you not to be here. It's okay for me not to be your cup of tea. That's okay too. And it is really freeing to finally like feel that way. And I feel like really in the past, like, I don't know, probably like since the beginning of this year, I finally like fully embrace that and feel
Hmm.
less like I need to be beholden to other people's opinions of me. Because
Yeah,
while I felt comfortable being myself, like I would get a lot of like kind of internal feelings of shame when I would get some things like that where like,
yeah,
oh, am I doing something wrong? Am I bad? Did I?
yeah.
Oh shit.
Am I bad girl? Yeah,
No,
yeah,
like, am I
yeah.
not being perfect? Like,
Hmm.
but like after getting so much of that feedback after a while, you're finally like, I'm never gonna be perfect to thousands of people. Like that's not going
Right.
to happen. There's millions of people on the internet. Like not every like I could just have different color hair than I have now and they could be like, "Yeah, you suck. Your hair is awful." Like people are awful on the internet.
I
So
mean, yeah,
like it's okay if it happens to you. I guess is my best advice is it's okay if people are shitty to you on the internet. It's not you. It's probably them.
I
Like
mean,
it's
yeah,
going to happen to all of us no matter what we do.
right. Like,
So don't let it
you
stop
can
you.
be minding your own business and somebody's gonna find it, oh, get a wild hair and think that they need to correct you in some way. And it's, yeah, it's like, it's not, that's not your responsibility.
It's not your responsibility. And like, don't let that stop you from being the person you want to be, showing up as how you want to show up, and doing the kind of work that you want to do. Like, if
Yeah.
you really feel like, hey, I got to say something, like, I can't stay silent, but you're afraid that people are going to be nasty to you, like,
Mhm.
they probably will. And that sucks. But at some point, like, they won't, or you
Yeah.
won't care anymore. Like, you have to rip the band aid off and let somebody like,
Yeah.
get nasty with you and then you sit with it and you move on. Like
Mhm.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Leaning
okay.
leaning into that discomfort can be so valuable for your own personal growth. Cause then you're like, well, why
Mhm.
does this bother me so much that this person would say this to me? Like, first of all, it sucks when somebody you don't know who doesn't know you says shitty things to you, because that in and of itself is like, well, what did I do?
Right.
Then if you do take a step back and sit with it and let yourself feel uncomfortable about it and try to understand that discomfort, then you can really understand, like, oh, like yeah, it triggers that shame or that guilt or whatever,
Mhm.
but that's not mine, that's theirs. And it's so
Mhm.
much easier to like flick it away. And I think I saw something earlier that was like, as a woman, you're going to feel the guilt anyway. So you might as well just do what you want to do. Like,
Exactly. I could feel guilty and shitty and be silent, or I could feel guilty and shitty and feel good about what I'm saying and
right,
doing.
right. Yeah,
I'll choose the latter.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you all. I will share my opinion and try not to feel shitty about it in
Right.
the same, it's like, okay, well, it's fine. Um, anyway, well, thank you for coming on to the show and talking about this project. Like, I know it's been kind of a roller coaster ride, but I'm glad it has like seemed like it's found its stride and that you have found so much support within the community of other people who want to give their voice to the project and help get it seen more and keep it going. So it's been really cool to see and be a part of. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being a big part of it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes, I'm looking for, I mean, in whatever. I don't, it feels weird to say I'm like looking forward to like quilting the next panels, but I mean I am, because again, it's a project that it's a topic that's near and dear and it's important to me. So I feel like it's been really cool to get to be a part of. So anyway, but we will yeah, like I said, we'll put all those links in the show notes so people can, if they haven't seen the project yet, they can come find you. Some of it is posted on my stuff as on my pages as well because I've contributed.
Mhm.
Gunviolencearchive.org. I think you're right. I think it is an org. To see where the data is coming from. So you don't have to wonder, or we're not making it up, like it's coming from a database. And then if you want to, build support, you can either monetarily contribute to help pay for the PO box, for shipping, for supplies, for my services. Um, or you can watch for the next go around of people to
Mhm.
take up a week. And yeah, we'll just see this project continue to gain attention, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll obviously chat soon because group chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And thank you to you and everyone who's contributed to this project. I wouldn't be able to do it without you.